Today. So today's a little special in my demonstration in the way that we are going to make a card, a matching decorated envelope, and we'll create a gift bag to go with it. Isn't that exciting? I'm really excited to share that all with you all. Hi Robin, good morning. Good morning Fran, thanks for stopping in today. Good morning Anne Marie. Thank you all for taking the time to spend with me this morning. So bonus days are going on right now, and if you have been shopping in August, then you have been earning your bonus days coupons. So be sure that when you earn your coupons that you don't lose the code that is emailed to you from Stampin' Up! Directly after your order. That code is going to be good to use in the month of September, and you'll be able to use it after September 5th on new holiday catalog product, or between September the 1st and the 5th, you can use it for regular annual catalog. But regardless, hang on to your bonus days coupons. And this is the host code for August. This is the code that when you go to my online store, you place in the, it asks you for a host code if your order is under $150. If it's over $150, then there's no need to use the code because you will be earning your Stampin' Rewards. And your Stampin' Rewards are 10% of the product total that you earn by shopping online. Or if you have a party, you can do that. There's lots of different ways to earn the rewards. Today I am going to be creating again with the Color Your Season products, and I'll be using Blended Seasons stamp set and the Stitched Seasons framelit dies. And I believe I mentioned last week that I'm going to be using this particular product all month long, and that's going to help you get lots of ideas. Hi Pat, good morning. Good morning Allie, and good morning Joanne. So keep your eyes out during the whole month for lots of products using Blended Seasons. And if you are a demonstrator, then you may already have these. And if you're a customer, you can shop right now for them. And I do have some online classes. I have one online class in particular on my tutorials page, jennyhalldesign.com. Click on tutorials. And if you can earn the tutorial for free by purchasing the bundle from me, or you can purchase the tutorial outright if you would like. It's an online class. And once you click add to cart and you complete your payment, then the link to the document to have the PDF and the videos is sent directly to your email. That's how all of my online classes work. More news is that the holiday catalogs are in the house. I've got them all here, and my happy little elf helper is working on creating some goodies to go inside the catalog that you receive. So I usually package up the catalogs myself. Sometimes I have them sent out directly from Stampin' Up, but we've got lots and lots to go in it. So I want you guys to let me know if you need a catalog. If you've already gotten a catalog from me, then you know you're going to get one again. And if you have not, and you need a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, then I would be absolutely thrilled to send you a catalog along with all the goodies that I tuck inside the pages for my customers. So that's something exciting to look forward to. And this catalog becomes active in September. I believe it's on September the 5th. So let's get right into our project today. This is the Blended Seasons bundle, and it is a limited time release product from Stampin' Up. They're going to sell it until the supplies run out, and they're not going to order anymore. So my job as your demonstrator is to help you come up with ideas on how you will be able to use these wonderful products. The stamp set is fantastic. The dies, however, are my favorite. So I find that I'm grabbing these dies constantly. So we're going to see some creative uses for the dies today in our gift set. So I will place this to the side and we will get started. Good morning, Dawn. Hi, Betty. Good morning. So I did all of my die cutting off camera in order to save time because this is a lot today that I'm going to share. I'm trying to keep the size and the time down. So I used the smallest of the stitched, hold on, let me get the whole pack here. Stitched Seasons Framelits dies. So this is what the stitched dies look like. They're double stitched on both sides of the cut line. There's a small, medium, and large, and then lots of other items that go with it. This is a framelit that cuts out the little bell, not necessarily a Christmas bell, it's just a bell, because I have made some other items with it. And these are independent images. So there's not a stamp for the bow, but there's a framelit for the bow, that kind of thing, or a thinlet. So what I did off camera was I die cut with the smallest of the stitched, this label. I used I'll show you the paper pack. It's called Nature's Poem Designer Series paper. And this is a piece that wasn't turned the right way, but once I saw it, I absolutely knew I had to use this. This is kind of like a summer / fading into fall pack of paper, and you could use it even for spring as well. They're beautiful images of nature, and this is, by the way, how I store my Designer Series paper until the plastic falls apart, and then I come up with another creative solution. But I always keep it inside the pack, and I just slice open the top. So I've made one of these labels already, and it's wood grain on the back side, but we're going to use this beautiful purple. And we're also going to be making our gift bag and our envelope liner out of the same piece. And this, for some reason, says fall to me. So I'm considering that this is a fall theme. There's lots of other things that you could choose from in this paper pack. There's beautiful pieces, such as this. And that's kind of an all season. It's just a great pack paper, and this is available in the annual catalog. So to get started, I also made another die cut, and this one shows exactly how, when you use that die, it puts the stitching on what is cut away, and it puts the stitching on what it's cutting from. So this is the positive die cut, and this is what we call the negative space, because this is the space that normally would not be used. However, we do have the ability with these double stitch dies to be able to use them to our advantage. It's a beautiful design accent. So I have this regular Whisper White paper, and I've cut it down to where it's going to allow me to have plenty of space on each side, and then I've got a little bit of space, kind of like making a framed image. And I'm hoping that this look is going to echo the gift bag, which is why I cut it to this size. And all of the measurements are going to be put in the video description on YouTube, and they're always listed on my blog. So I'm going to set this piece to the side because we will use it for our gift bag. And this is what happens when I place this piece in. It just lays right in. How about that? Isn't that great? I love it. So to prepare this particular piece, we can go ahead and get that one ready. I'm going to turn it on its reverse. and make sure that I've got that inlay piece just right. And to keep it in place, I'm going to use some, I could use a whole panel of paper, but I don't feel like that's necessary. If it were something that would really be a concern of popping out, then it would be all right. But for now, I'm just going to use my dimensionals. I like to use the outside edges too. I'm going to just kind of place those around for support. I'll add one there as well. There's nothing on the Stampin' Dimensional that is wasted, is there? Good morning, Debbie. Thanks for stopping by. Okay, so I think I've sufficiently dimensionaled my project, and because it's anchored in 4 different places, and then this is going to be like a support beam, then I feel like it's going to have enough stability. And again, if you are worried that your inlay piece is going to not stay put, then just back it with a piece of Whisper White that's smaller than the actual panel that you're using, and glue it down, and it'll be really stable. I'm just taking these off now because I know that it's going to save me some time whenever I come to my next part. So I'm not going to lay this down on the card because I'm going to do some wraparound pieces. So let's get to the stamping portion. I have a piece of this really pretty Dazzling Diamonds glimmer paper and a strip of Whisper White that's just a little scrap. I saved this nice size scrap for whenever I cut down my insert and layers of my cards. Hi, Tracy. Good night. Yes, it was probably good night for you. So I'm going to stamp with Blackberry Bliss, and I'm using a narrow greeting from the Blended Seasons. And I'll stamp in the middle, making sure I don't get too much. I'm just going to stamp right in the middle of this strip. And the strip is not a particular size. I just used something that I knew would be longer than this particular width of the card. So now I want to layer this right on top of the glimmer paper. And there are lots of different ways that people like to use the glimmer paper to keep it in place. I particularly like glue dots because glue dots will, when they activate, they will kind of sink down into the little pieces of glitter. But we have a couple of different ways that we're going to make sure this stays put. So first off, I'm going to add 3 glue dots to kind of span across the area, just to keep my sentiment from wanting to move around. There we go. I'm going to push on where that glue dot is to make sure that it's activated. And I know there's one under the sentiment as well. Excuse me. So now I want to add it to the front here. And I'm going to wrap everything around the middle and adhere it to the back. So it's going to slightly change the way this label looks. It's going to look more narrow because the curves are going on the inside. So I'm just going to position it, turn it over, and then I'm going to fold over these 2 pieces right here. And I'll use a little bit of snail to keep that piece down. Fold this one over too, and I think it could stand a little bit of snail underneath it as well, since it doesn't completely hit that. There's a little bit of the Stampin' Dimensional left. fold this over also. And if it wants to bow just a little bit, then that's when we can slip in a mini glue dot underneath with no problem. So I'm just going to put the mini glue dot here underneath where that line of paper will go. And now it's going to stay put. So now I'm ready to adhere this. Now, as I mentioned before, in case you missed it, we are making an entire gift set today, so I'm keeping my projects pretty simple and trying to run through them very quickly. So this is the card, and we're not quite finished yet, but we're getting close. It's a very, very simple idea that you can use for this inlay die technique, and you can adapt it for any season that you like. In the stitch seasons, there is a bow image, and it's a very unique looking bow because it just cuts out the outline of a bow. So I thought it would be pretty just to add here to the edge, and this is the size of the framelit. You'll have to pop out all these little pieces that when you make your die cut, it'll come away. And I'm going to adhere that. I'm going to roll I'm going to roll a mini glue dot over. I like to kind of roll them up to where they're an elongated shape instead of being a circle, and that way I can be a little bit more flexible with where I place them. So I'm just using my take a pick tool, rolling it up, and then I can find a place that is friendly on the lines of the die cut so that I can place that little rolled up glue dot. Now it'll be easy for me to place it. I don't want to cover the word congrats, so I'm going to put this just right underneath it. And there we go. Very quick card, very easy. And we're going to move on to our envelope. So, well, I guess we'll do the inside of the card first. That would be handy, wouldn't it? So the inside of the card, I have the same ink, Blackberry Bliss. Oops. And there's a really pretty image of the, I guess it would be a branch. So I'm just going to stamp that here. And I really like how some of the lines are much more wide than the other lines on all of the images in this stamp set. It's a very unique look. Okay, so we're going to adhere this to the inside of the card with some liquid glue. And I use those small dots. I get more questions about the inside of the card. And I use those small dots because it's enough to hold my paper in place, and it doesn't buckle and it doesn't warp. Everybody has their own way that they like to adhere things, and this is just my way I'm comfortable with, and it works for me. And it's a small amount of glue. So here is our fun little fall theme. I'm looking at it as more of a fall theme. It's very feminine, definitely, with all of the shiny sparkle and the bow. But I really like how the purple just kind of jumps up. So we're going to move on to creating our envelope. And I have pre-die cut that as well. The die that I use for my envelope liners is from Beautiful Layers. That is part of the Petal Promenade suite, and it works with the Beautiful Promenade stamp set. But in the dies is this wonderful envelope liner, and there's a lot of creative ways to use it, but there's very, very specific. It works perfectly with Stampin' Up's envelopes, absolutely perfectly. So I'll share a few tips of lining my envelopes. First of all, I don't use a specific length on how I choose to use the paper. I just want it to be sure that it's going to extend down into the envelope. But one of my customers came up with a really, really good thing to point out about this. And her name is BJ. And whenever, and I'll show you, I trim this down with my snips. And whenever you use an envelope liner, then one thing to do is to make sure that your embellishments face the envelope liner and there's a little bit of extra padding so the pearls don't push through the envelope. Just make sure that the whatever your embellishment is actually faces the envelope liner. So BJ came up with that really nifty little clue. So the way I use this, and there are many different ways to use it, is I just kind of slip it in, and you see that it's shaped to perfectly fit into the Stampin' Up! Envelope. Then I will use my snail adhesive once I get it into the proper place, and it comes down about right here on the inside. So then I'll pull this forward. Just add one line of snail adhesive. Press it to activate all those glues. And then I'll close by, I have found that if I leave the bottom part unattached, it's easier for the liner to stay in place and not buckle up, and it just works out better for me. So I push the two papers together, being the envelope and the designer paper, create that fold, and then either with a bone folder or, as I used here, with just my fingernail. This is enough to keep it in place. It is going nowhere. So now we can add some fun little image to the front here. Not way down too low, because the post office frowns on that. They like their little coding system, but maybe up around this area. And this is a wonderful little accompaniment for the card. See how well that just sets it off to have an envelope that precisely matches the card. So we're going to take this theory one step further, and we're going to make a gift bag that also matches our card and our envelope. So I'd love to hear what you guys think of having a complete matching gift set. I also have some pearls here that I thought I would see if they fit in a couple of places. These are the Share What You Love artisan pearls. And I've put a little sequin here just so you can see the size of a sequin versus these pearls. There is a color that kind of matches. So this is what it would look like if you chose to add a few pearls to it. I'm okay with just having the shiny come from the Glimmer paper, but it is really nice to have a few accents sometimes as well. So this is what the artisan pearls would look like with this particular project. Thanks, Anne Marie. I really love these pearls. As you can tell, I've used quite a bit of them, and they are available in the annual catalog. So we're going to set this aside and start working on our gift bag. And I did work ahead a little bit on that as well. I love how this matches together. It just works out so easily. So the gift bag is from the same paper. But we're going to create the gift bag on the gift bag punch board. It's on page 209 on the annual catalog. And I wanted to show this image here before we start the gift bag, because it will give you an idea of the difference in size between the three different sizes that are available on the punch board for you to create. I tend to go for the smaller size because if I want a larger bag, then it's going to need to be, usually I don't have something that's an in-between size. I have small gifts, and then I usually have a need for a much bigger gift. which in that case I can use 2 pieces of 12 by 12 designer paper and put them together and create a jumbo sized bag. I'm not able to do that on the envelope the gift bag punch board because that's made for these specific sizes. So if you have a custom gift bag that you need to create, then my suggestion is to go over here and check out the Simply Scored scoring tool. And this is basically a scoreboard, and you can move your paper around any way that you need. You can also create things on your trimmer, because Stampin' Up's trimmer, which I feel is one of the best on the market, has a cutting blade and a scoring blade, and it has a very stable fold out leg that will allow you to do your 12 by 12 paper measurements at ease. It's wonderful. So the gift bag punch board is what we're going to use today, and again, it's on page 209 in the annual catalog that looks like this. So I did some cutting and some punching in advance because the punch board I have to use force on it, and I didn't want the camera to shake around too much. So we are going to do some punching though. But I wanted to share some of the little tips that I have. We're going to assemble this together, but I keep this piece in my box with my envelope, or with my gift bag. I keep saying envelope, with my gift bag punch board. This is what the punch board looks like. It's pretty small. It doesn't take up a lot of space in your craft room. And it has its own scoring tool here. And we can use that here. But it also has instructions, and then it has a reverse punch here to make the holes. So I keep this bag, and this is the small size because this is the size that I most frequently make. But I keep this in my box with the punch board, and I keep my punch board in the original box. Why do I keep it all together? Because it just works for me in my craft room. I do the same thing with the envelope punch board. It just works out for me. So having this as a guide gives me a really good refresher in my mind as to every time I pick up my gift bag punch board, then I can refresh myself on the instructions, because I'll be honest with you all. We all have our challenges in remembering how to use this punch board, because I only use it like every 2 months, but I do use it. But every time I come to it, I have to refresh myself on exactly how I'm supposed to use it. And it's not that complicated. So we're going to go through all of the steps together. But this is just a template that I use that helps me to remember. And it's been scored, it's been punched, everything has been done to it except assembly. So this is how I start off my projects. So I've followed the instructions on using what size paper. Instruction number 1 says that if you're going to create a S bag, which is a small, then my paper needs to be 10 inches wide. And it is 10 inches wide from one side to the next. And then it's saying that to trim the paper length between 4 inches tall and 12 inches tall. It's up to me to decide how tall I want my gift bag to be. I guess based on what we would be putting inside of it. So I generally stick to 6 inches, and that would be 6 inches this way. So my paper piece that I've taken directly from the paper pack is 10 inches wide by 6 inches tall. So what I do next is I just follow the instructions, and it says to line up the left edge of paper on the start line. Now I'm not going to go through all these instructions because there are detailed videos on how to use this particular punch board, and I have even made videos that are tutorials on step-by-step how to do it. But I'll show you exactly how I do it, and I'll explain a few things. It says here horizontal. So that's going to be the horizontal line that it refers to. And the vertical line is this way. I think the punch board is meant to be placed in this way whenever you use it, but I tend to like it this way. So what they're asking for me to do is to start, I actually started it like this, and then I follow the step-by-step instructions. So each time I have to make sure that I score along this horizontal line. That's going to create the bottom corner of my bag. So after I've done everything, after I've done all the punches that it says to punch, it's going to create a side, a flat side, I mean, and then it's going to create an actual bag side, and then another, this will be front side, the side, this would be the back, and this would be the other side. And then it also creates a flap to be able to adhere. So it shows you what the final result looks like here on the bag. And then afterwards, I turn the bag over either direction, and then here where it says reverse punch and it has a little pointy arrow, looks a little bit like a nose, then the place on the side of the bag, that would be like, if we put this one kind of together, and this would be our front, our back, and then our two sides, and they have that pleat. So you place the pleat where the two sides are scored together underneath the arrow or the little nose, and when you push it, it's going to give you a double punch, equally spaced. And we'll get to the reason why we have to use that. So that's our punch board. So what I do to customize the bag from this point, after everything is punched, is for this little flap, I'm going to cut this part away because it's not needed, and I'm going to trim it at an angle. And so that's going to allow my flap to adhere, but I don't really need there to be a lot of bulk in this corner. So I do that. I also place a very small amount of tear and tape on the sides that have the pleat. I put that on the outside, and then I place a little piece that's going to be my final closing point, that's going to be the very bottommost, that touches, let's say it touches the desk or touches the floor. And then I place a piece of tear and tape on the inside where this flap is going to fold over. You could place the piece of tape on the flap if you are comfortable with that. Either way works really good. This is just how I know, I keep straight in my mind exactly where I want these two corresponding pieces to land. So before I put this together, I want to add a little bit of accent. I know that I will be using this really pretty 1/8 inch sheer ribbon to use as my handles for the bag. So this ribbon is 1/8 of an inch, and you see how easily it goes in. It's just super easy. I've also created gift bags where I used the polka dot tulle ribbon, and it's wider than the hole, but if you use you could use the Take-A-Pick tool and just use the stylus end, or you could use this piece that comes with the envelope punch board and just encourage it to go through the punched hole, whatever works best for you. So what my little accent is going to be to add to this bag, just to kind of bump it up a little bit, remembering that our card is a little bit frilly. It has a nice feminine look to it. And see, here is what we've created so far. And if you're just joining, then you can see that we're creating a card, a matching envelope, and a matching gift bag today. So I want to use this punch here, and this is a ribbon punch. I think it's the ribbon border punch. And if you haven't used this type of punch before, it's nothing new, but it does take a little trick to get it to line up in a just like to where it lines up seamlessly. And what I do is I use it from the back side here, and I'll place a little strip, and this is just a little strip of paper, just a little scrap paper. It doesn't matter what the size is, because this is what's going to come out, not this. This is the size that it's going to give me. So I'm going to place it in and make sure that I bring it all the way to where the left-hand side is not going to be cut off in the middle of the design. I'm going to place it just on the other side, and I punch. And this really takes a lot of pressure on this one. So now this is what I have. So this is what I mean by this is going to be my final size, not this. So if I used a taller piece of paper, it would be more paper left that would go in the trash. It's no problem. So this is actually a piece that could be used on a design. I like that little scallopy look. So how I move forward with this is I'm going to place my paper back inside the punch, and I'm going to line up the last punched mark, the last punched scallop, with the first one here. And there's some little circles in between that make it really easy to help line everything up. So I'm going to make sure that I can see those pieces, those punched out things, exactly where they should be. And I'm going to punch again. And so it's giving me a long line. Well, I didn't do so good on that one. I'm going to keep going though. So I'm going to just keep going along. This is how I'm going to make a nice long piece. Slide it down. Now I know why it didn't, because I forgot that once you punch, you have to be careful not to lean the paper down. That's why it didn't go all the way through. And I'll show you exactly what I mean in just a moment. See, this edge is not the same height as this edge is here. So I have to be very careful to line up this inside here, or else it's not going to give me a seamless look. So I'm going to make sure that to the best that I can. And it did. It worked out fine. I tell you, it did take a little bit of practice whenever I first used this particular punch, because I had to figure out exactly how I could get it to where I wanted it to look one long seamless piece of ribbon. Okay, and we're almost to the end here of the piece of paper. All right, so let's see if this is enough. If not, then I'll punch another piece. But this is the part I thought it would be really important to share with you all, because this is a little bit more difficult for me. And if it's difficult for me, then I always guess, and it could be difficult for other people as well. So I'm going to get all these little stray pieces away, and then we're going to attach our ribbon piece directly to the inside. Yeah, I think we've got enough here. It'll be fine. So I didn't put any tear and tape on the inside here because this is a very small area to adhere. So I want to first kind of get a good look at it and make sure that I've got enough space. I'm going to trim off a circle here where the punch started, and that little circle will help me adhere things. And then the place where it ends in a scallop, not a circle. And we can always do a little cleanup work afterwards if we need to refine it a little bit. The mini glue dots are another place where I really feel like this is a big help. So I'm going to figure out which side I want to be the front and which side to, or basically which side is going to face out and which side would be prettier not facing out. So this is the side that I want to face out, and I've got it face down right now. So now I'm going to turn it the other way. So I want the part that is going to be facing the out to be attached to the inside lip of this bag here. So I'm going to use that folded up mini glue dot again, you know, like we used earlier, and I will just put it right over. You can leave it a flat glue dot if you like. I tend to want to fold them up and keep them a little smaller, but they are going to show through that little circle, but we're going to take care of making sure that that's not going to work against us. I'll show you how I do that in just a little bit. So working with the glue dots, and again, if you have any questions along the way, then please stop me and ask. So I'm just going to do it like every 3 scallops. I feel like that's enough to hold it in place. And this is the area where I kind of got it a little wonky, but it's just the top part that's going to show through on the edge of the bag, so I think it'll be okay. And one more, just here. All right. Wonderful. So now I'm going to attach this to the inside of the bag, and you can see that it's only going to show a certain part through. I need it to be anchored. So I'm going to look at the little circle that's on the actual punch line, not on the bag, and that's where I'm going to line it up to where the circle that's in between these scallops is going to be the place where I make sure that it's even. And that's an easy landmark for me to be able to follow. And those circles do not need to show through on the front of the bag either. It's okay. It's just part of the decoration. And then I'm going to really push in so that this glue dot comes all the way through that little hole with no problem at all. And then my little quick fix to stop the glue dot from being sticky is to use my embossing buddy, and the little cornstarch that's in there, just a couple of pounces is enough to deactivate the glue. Just that easy. No special tricks, just a wonderful little embossing buddy. So that cornstarch is good. If you don't have the embossing buddy, you could use baby powder. Baby powder or something of the sort would work. I guess you could even use powdered sugar. There's lots of different ways we could use that. So now we're ready to start folding and burnishing the bag. But because we put the trim before we did it, then when we fold our bag sides, the trim is going to fold with it. So I do this part at this point just for that particular reason, because I want the bag and the scallop border to fold together at the same time. So I'll just start from wherever I can find the very first score line, and I'm going to use my finger to reinforce where this fold line is here. And then bone folder, or you can use the score tool that comes with the gift bag punch. Okay, I'm just going to do the actual sides first, and then I'll do the pleats or the gussets. And where the ribbon border here, I'm just really reinforcing it. Hi there, Nicola. How are you? Thanks for stopping in. We are creating a matching card, envelope with liner and gift bag today. So I'm just really reinforcing where that extra piece of paper is. It's an extra kind of bulk there. Pressing in. And now I will be able to I'll be able to work in these side pieces. You might be able to see the score line a little better. On designer paper, it's not as easy to see it. But what I really want to make sure I do is I want to make sure that I fold up the top part of the bag where the bulk is going to be. And then I can place my finger where the side scores were, just to reinforce it and help the bag to be able to go together more easily. So there's going to be a front, a back, and two sides that are all going to be opposite one another. And again, all of the instructions for the gift bag punch board are actually on the punch board. And there's an insert inside the box that even goes into more detail on how to use it. I just want to encourage this bag to fold up nicely. And you can see where the sides are starting to shape up and really want to go together easily. See, that'll work out well. And because we used that little arrow, now look at how all of those little holes that are going to hold our bag's handle, they're lined up perfectly. And that's because we turned that punch board around and we used it with a little pointy piece, or the little nose. It looked like a nose. And we made sure that where the side and the back meet is where we punched. And then the same thing for the side and the front. I'm going to make sure that all of the bottom pieces are folded as well, and that's the horizontal line. That's what they call it on the punch board. So it's really important to remember to do all of the things that the punch board instructs. All right, so now we're able to start actually putting this little beauty together, and we'll put the ribbon on afterward. But before I do the ribbon, I want to make sure that I have a tag that we're going to use to go in it as well. But I can put the bag together first. Anne Marie is saying that the punch board will be on her next order. I find that out of all of the different, we have pre-made bags, we have dies at Stampin' Up that make treat holders. I keep coming back to this gift bag though. It's so easy to make, and there's so many different things that we can do with it. I just really enjoy it. So I'm going to attach it together into a little tunnel first before I assemble the bottom. So I'm just going to start rolling it up. And then this flap is what I need to have go over to the opposite side. And I'm going to line it, I'm going to fold it down and line it up to the edge here. And there's also that little punched mark that is going to help me know, I can see all the way through it here, and it's going to help me know that I'm in the right place.